Hey, Astro Kids, and welcome back. And today we're going to continue with the Natal Venus series using Vedic Astrology. Today we're talking about what it looks like to have Venus in Gemini in your chart. So, in this video, we will talk about the personality of Venus in Gemini, what this looks like in a female's chart, what this will look like in a male's chart, and we will briefly cover the Nakshatras. So, let's go ahead and jump right into this. Now, Venus is a friend to Mercury. So, this is a very friendly placement for Venus to be in. And what is Gemini? Gemini is symbolized by communication, communicating with the other. So, this is a sign of relationships, the connection between a male and a female. So, this duality of Gemini is here. And this becomes a great position for connections of all kind. Business connections, friendly connections, romantic connections. Venus in Gemini gives a love of communication in general. And so when it comes to romance, which we will get into in a little bit here, is that communication is an important factor in connecting on a romantic level. Here, there is a love of writing typically. So, whether you are someone who just loves to journal, someone who loves to write books, or someone who does a job that involves writing, there tends to be a love of writing as this is connected to the third house of Gemini. There tends to also be great business skills. So, making negotiations, making contracts and agreements with others, being great in business partnerships, anything that is involving communication with another person tends to thrive with this position. And this doesn't give a direct style of communication because this is Venus. So Venus is influencing this placement. Venus being the planet of love, beauty, compassion, marriage, your spouse, relationships, this is a planet that likes to give us pleasure and comfort. And so, with Venus and Gemini, this tends to give a communication style that is much more soft and compassionate, pleasant and calm type of communication. Remember that this is not Mercury. So, this is not necessarily your communication style, but this is you expressing this energy of Venus in Gemini. So, Gemini being about communication and Venus being this very loving and pleasant planet gives this softer type of communication in dealing in relationships. This tends to make you someone who's very calm, very inviting, very pleasant to be around, very considerate of others. There is a strong need for communication. This can make you a good friend. There tends to be a lot of desire to be in a group or to have some sort of social connection where you feel connected to others. This also tends to give a love of art, but there tends to be a darker style of art, especially depending on which nakshatra this falls into. So let's talk about what this looks like in a female's chart. Typically, with Venus in Gemini in a female's chart, because Venus is the karka of a wife, this does tend to activate more in a female's chart, where this gives a female who is more talkative, who wants that communication and social interaction. So this tends to make you someone who is good in the areas of business, friendships, anything that is involving you communicating with other people. There's a strong love for this. You could even be in a business profession that involves communication, depending upon how Venus is placed in your chart. And of course, you want to always look at if there are any planets involved with Venus, what house Venus is in, how it's being aspected. All of these things matter, along with the nakshatras, which we will talk about in a little bit. But with Venus here in Gemini, this gives a very friendly, very pleasant type of attitude where you are wanting to communicate, wanting to make those connections with others. In a male's chart, this tends to give a wife or a girlfriend who has a very talkative nature, and specifically a wife, right? Because Venus is traditionally about the spouse. This tends to give a female counterpart part that is very talkative, very social. And so this tends to give a person who wants that social interaction, that connection with Venus and Gemini. This doesn't mean that you yourself are talkative. Again, Venus is representing the wife. And so a male with this placement could actually be very reserved, very quiet, but their spouse is looking for this social connection, this social interaction. And so you will see that this will attract a very talkative spouse to you with this position. This also, again, is giving that love of communication, of writing. And so, even for the more reserved or quiet males with this placement, this can also give you a love of writing or artwork, anything that involves putting your ideas out in a creative way with this position. So with the Nakshatras, this is starting off where we left off at with Venus in Taurus, is this Nakshatra of Mrigashira, which is starting off in Taurus and finishing off here in the early degrees of Gemini. So if you fall within this Nakshatra, this is going to give you a spouse that is very hypnotic. And we talked a little bit about this in the Venus and Taurus video, where this gives a spouse who is very much attractive and hypnotic. This can be someone that others obsess over. They can even have stalkers, their exes, or people around them can stalk them. And this can even give a situation where if you are even married to this spouse, people can still try to hit on your spouse. So this gives a very attractive partner, someone who catches the attention of others very easily. And this also tends to give someone who loves the chase. And this could also be you, but for the most part, this is going to be your spouse who loves the chase, who loves the excitement. So if you can keep the excitement going in your relationship, this will help to keep this partner around. But this tends to give a desire to have, as we said in the last video, a lady in the streets and a freak in the bed. So this tends to give a love of someone who is very professional, very friendly, very outgoing, but then someone who knows how to have fun and introduce a lot of pleasure into the private areas of the relationship. This also can give a partner who has multiple relationships or who moves on quickly. Again, this gives the love of the chase, as this is symbolized by the deer alone in the forest. This searching endlessly, and with Mars controlling this nakshatra, especially giving that love of excitement, of the chase, of this ability to have this adrenaline rush, this excitement. And so, once again, if you can keep the excitement going, then this keeps the partner around with this position. So, for those of you who have Venus in the Ardra Nakshatra, this falls within the middle of Gemini. And this is symbolized by the teardrop. This one is controlled by Saturn. So this is an Aquarius Navamsa. This tends to give a partner who is very eccentric. This can give a partner who is a loner, someone who maybe doesn't fit into the group or felt like an outcast growing up. This can give someone who has more of this loner vibe to them, where they're more independent, more rebellious. This can also give a partner who has some mood swings, as this is symbolized by the teardrop. This can give a very emotional partner, someone who cries a lot, and especially for those who have been in previous relationships that have fell apart. This partner can cry over their past connections a lot as they come up in the memory of these experiences. This also tends to give a partner who loves animals, who loves to care for the less fortunate. Again, this is an Aquarius Navamsa, with Aquarius being the humanitarian. So this gives a person who is very private and very compassionate, very empathetic with this position. When they get angry, they can sometimes have outbursts where they throw things, or they tend to wipe the slate clean, so they could even get angry and leave the relationship with this position. And so the moods can be very dangerous with this position, but typically this gives someone who is very loving, very compassionate. The emotional part is something to watch out for. This can also give a person who loves to live in isolation, especially in areas in the desert. They may love to live in those types of places, and it tends to give someone who has a smaller circle of friends. This also tends to give someone who loves art, but their art may have a darker edge to it. It may be very sad or destructive in the presentation of their artwork. Last nakshatra here in the sign of Gemini is Punarvasu, and this is symbolized by the bow and quiver. This is a Jupiter ruled nakshatra. And so this tends to give someone who can easily bounce back from setbacks. The light of Jupiter is there, where they are very blessed and fortunate. And so for this particular partner, they may have experienced setbacks in relationships. They could have went through multiple marriages, but each time that they get involved in a new relationship, it gets better and better. Similarly, they could go through financial struggles or any other complications in life. But as these problems come along and they face setbacks, they end up getting something even better as a result. So Jupiter is always going to bless this position where there is a new experience that is better than the last one. This can also give a spouse who is an entrepreneur, someone who has multiple ideas, multiple things that they like to work on, with this Gemini energy that is very much about duplicity and multiplicity, and especially with Jupiter here in this nakshatra to expand this influence. This can give someone who has a lot of creative ideas, a lot of ideas on how to capitalize in business with this position. This can also give someone who loves luxurious outings. This can give someone who loves to go on vacation on resorts and suites. This can also give someone who wants you to profess your love to them. So, someone who wants you to show why you are worthy of their love. And so, this could be something where you have to show them small acts, like someone who cooks for them, someone who has a lot of money, someone who's in a high ranking position. If you can show them a reason of why you're worthy of their love, they will find this connection with you. So, this has been my interpretation of what it looks like to have Venus in Gemini. We covered each of the nakshatras, not a whole lot of depth in those nakshatras. If you'd like me to cover more on these individual nakshatras within Gemini, then feel free to let me know down below in the comments. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button along with the notification bell. If you enjoyed this, feel free to leave a like as well as a comment as well. And if you are interested in learning more on Vedic astrology, there is a course available in the Facebook group Astrology Lessons with Daquan Jones. The link for that is down below in the description along with the comments. And if you have anything additional to add, anything you'd like me to bring up in a future video regarding Vedic astrology, make sure to leave it down below in the comments and I will bring that up later on. I want to thank you all so much for joining. I hope you have a great day and I will see you in the next video.